What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different here. I'm live streaming this in podcast format, I guess, but we're going to be talking about all of the games I completed in 2025. Now, I don't normally keep a log of things like this, but I've watched a few videos of other people doing this and thought, you know what, it's going to help me to keep track of what I've played and maybe remember some things that I would have forgotten in the jumble of all the video games that I would have installed and played and sometimes not even get around to completing. But I've done it today. I've been wanting to do this for a while before the new year, but we're here. It's 2026. So yeah, hope you all had a happy new year, and let's get straight into it. So I've made a list here of everything I played, the platforms, the dates I started and completed them on. And I won't really show you that because it is more of just like an Excel spreadsheet. I was going to have it on the screen, but with it being so long, it wouldn't really fit in. So I'm just going to show you in picture format and give you my thoughts. So one of the first games, in fact, not all of the games are in complete order. Some of the games here are carried on from 2024, where actually I started at the end of the year and then like continued playing into the beginning of 2025, which one of those is one of the big ones, which took me quite a while. So I'm going to get into it with the first game that I completed in 2025. And that is the first game that I actually started in 2025, and that is Trek to Yomi. Now, this is like a side-scrolling platformer game. It's very like Kurosawa, if that's how you say it. It's a very black and white samurai style. It's got a great art style, and it was really fun to play. I was like quite surprised by how much I enjoyed the combat. It felt meaty. Like when you hold the sword and you like hold the button down and do like a strong strike, it felt really good to play. And it was a short game, maybe 3 to 4 hours, I think. So I got this one wrapped up pretty quick. Usually when I get around to the start of the year, I want to start some shorter games that I've maybe missed over the years that I can get through. But this was quite a nice one to start off with. And like I said, I finished it in less than a week. And I probably would go back to this at some point. I think I played a lot of it on the Steam Deck and then on the laptop as well. So I was kind of mixing where I was playing this one, but it was very good on the Steam Deck as well. Moss, hey, how you doing, Moss? I love Trek to Young. Yeah, it was a good game. It was a good platformer with a lot of style to it, which is one of the main things about it. Is the style. The black and white really looked really good on this. So that was Trek to Yomi. Took me less than a week to beat. The second game up here. Now this is a big one, and this took us a long time, and we were playing this for I want to say 2 or 3 months here. In fact, I can see. So we're going to be talking about the next one, which is Metaphor Refantasio. I love the Persona games. I first played Persona 4 back in the day on the Vita, and then it took me a while to get around to playing 5, but ever since then I've like loved like these games, Atlas games, and Metaphor was their brand new IP. So we're very excited for a medieval style Persona game. So yeah, I started that on I started that on the 30th of December 2024, so just before New Year's. I think I got it as a Christmas present. We both did, me and Em both got it, and I didn't finish it until the 27th of February. So in fact, that's only 2 months, so not as long as I thought, but it felt like it because it was like all we were doing. So this is one of those type of games where you have to manage your time and who you spend it with a lot of turn-based combat, and it's just a really great game. We got really absorbed into the world of this one, and it was quite a shame to finish it because you, like with all those Persona games, you build up like this camaraderie of all the characters in the game, and you put so many time into it and so many days like building your bonds with all these people, and then you just end it and it's over, and then you probably don't go back to it for a very long time. But really loved Metaphor Refantasio. Just gonna take 1 second to put my chat up here where I can see it on the camera and where I can see what you guys are saying. So let me just recap on the chat. Hey Scotty, how you doing? Nice to see you. I only played 3 games last year: AC Shadow's Baby Steps and T2 No Fate. And T2 No Fate only just came out recently, didn't it? I tried to go out of my way to play a lot of games this year, just like a lot of the ones that were in my backlog that were dragging me down, and I was never getting around to playing them. So after Metaphor Refantasio, which is probably still one of the highlights of 2025, definitely one that stays with me, and I would still be tempted to go back and play it again. So next up is another short, small one, an easy one to wrap up in the backlog, and that is Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. Now, I love the Batman games. I love the original trilogy. I love Arkham Origins. I've not played the latest two, Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad, but this is the only one that I'd had in my Steam library for like a long time, and I never played it. And this is essentially I think it's a prequel to Arkham Origins. It's in a 2.5 3D platformer style. So it's very different from the open world of Arkham Asylum to Night. But it worked really well actually. The gameplay mechanics, I think, like of the detective and using the like explosive gel and using the grapple hook actually worked really well with the game. So it had a few bugs and the combat wasn't as tight as the main games, obviously, but I think this was quite good. It got a little bit repetitive at times, but it was quite a short game, so I was happy to move through this and play like a platformer Batman game, one that I've not played since maybe Batman Forever on the PS1. So yeah, I still had a good time in this one. Nice and quick. So first I've heard of it. Yeah, it's pretty old now, I guess. It's quite an old one, but yeah, it was pretty decent for what it was. If you go in expecting a short 2.5 3D game, looking forward to AC Hex. Yeah, I can't wait for that one. It's going to be spooky, hopefully. It's Assassin's Creed game set in sort of witchcraft Germany, I think. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think I was looking forward to that more than Shadows, even though I always wanted a Assassin's Creed Samurai game, which I still haven't played. So that's going to be on 2026's list. So moving on, next is Until Dawn remake. So love the original Until Dawn. Played this one a few times back in the day, and it was just like it was like a perfect game for me. It was like a horror game, which was a slasher movie style, and all of those things are all mixed together, and just absolutely loved it. So when the remake came out, I mean, it's more of the same, but with Unreal Engine 5 and a few little differences, a few little extras. And I think I wasn't expecting too much because I always in my head imagined how Until Dawn was just this amazing looking game. And when we actually booted it up for the first time, and me and them played it both co-op on stream, actually, really surprised by how good the graphics in this remake were. The Unreal Engine 5 really like showing it off, and even while we were playing it, we were thinking surely like the game didn't look like this. So when we actually went back and watched the PS4 version, which still looks really good, we were surprised by how much of a difference they did make in this one, and even a little teaser at the end towards a sequel, I think. Whether we get to see that or not, I'm not sure. And I also still want to go back and play this and do like a chaos run. So maybe we will do that at some point on the stream. So yeah, always loved Until Dawn, and the remake was awesome as well. I was playing I was playing Arkham Origins over Xmas. Kept saying it's an Xmas game. Yeah, it's definitely a Christmas game. Like it's set in Arkham in the snow, right? And there's plenty of like Christmas things around the map and stuff. So Origins is an underrated game in my opinion. I really love that one, and the DLC was pretty good as well. The Cold Heart. So moving on next to a classic horror game which I've put off for many years. I've tried to play it a few times. I think when I very first tried to play this one years ago on my laptop, the brightness just wouldn't work, so it was just stuck in like perpetual darkness. It is called The Dark Descent, but not when you can't even see a single thing in a game. And I never got very far into it. So over the years, I think I bought it on the Switch when it was like £3, and then what else did I get it on? Well, I tried it on the Steam Deck and there was bugs, it wasn't working. And eventually I think I tried it on my ultra wide monitor and it wouldn't work on that either. So I just kept putting it off and off. And I think I finally got it to work on the Steam Deck OLED. And I thought, I'm just going to play through it on here now. It's working, let's do it. And yeah, it was a pretty decent game. I can tell at the time why it was so like loved with its atmosphere. It was more a story in a game based on, yeah, the atmosphere rather than like jump scares, although there were some jump scares in the game and the things that chase you were pretty creepy. It was very lore based. So I did actually try to play the sequel to this one, Machine for Pigs, the spin-off game, and I couldn't get into it. I had to drop it after maybe an hour and a half, but I do look forward to playing the third and the fourth game at some point. So moving on from there, next we have Deathloop. Now, this is a game by, what are they called? I'm forgetting the name of the team now, but it's the people who made Prey. And before that, what else did they make? Dishonored. And they have a really distinctive style. I think Bethesda is the publisher of the titles, but I think it was, I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, they make very open games where you can play it in very different styles and different ways, and this one was very different from Dishonored. Arcane, that's it, Tipsy. Thank you so much. A place where I couldn't get into it. Yeah, I'll go into that now, Moss, actually, because I played this and I played it for... I don't think I was paying attention to like how the game really worked. And I played it for a couple hours and I just kept getting like wrecked and I couldn't find better weapons and I couldn't figure out how the loop worked and how it was going to be like actually get fun. I got to a certain point in the game and I think it was when I got like a silenced pistol or a silenced machine gun, and I could actually start doing some stealth then. And then I started to figure out the gameplay mechanics a bit more. And then by the time I'd like actually figured out the game, like I actually started to love it, and I was like hooked on the gameplay and just running the loops and going back in time and finding these new things, because you'd get different clues that would open up things in future playthroughs of the loop, which would make it easier and make it faster. And by the end of it, you can literally finish the game. I'm not sure because it's been a while now, but I'm sure you can like run from the start of the game to the end of the game, get it all done in like one complete loop, which is what the idea of the game. But by the end of it, I had a great time with it. But like you said, Moss, I couldn't get into it for like a while. But when it finally clicked for me, I really did enjoy it. So next up, we have Judgment. So let me just see whereabouts we are in the year at this point. So we started Deathloop at the end of January and finished that at the end of March. So we're probably into the first quarter of the year here. So Judgment is the spin-off for Yakuza. Now, this is a game I think they were trying to spin off into its own complete series, which was going to take over Yakuza, or maybe even stop Yakuza, and this was going to be the new thing. And it was more of a detective story. And there was a big controversy with this title when it came out, because they had quite a well-known actor in the game who played one of the main characters, and he got, I think, arrested for drug charges or something like that, and they had to go back and really like get a new actor in and change all of his facial mocap and things like that. So there's quite a bit of controversy with that, having to go back and change everything. But this was a really, really fun game. The different mechanics of you playing, I can't remember the actual main character's name, but playing as him was a lot different from playing, what's his name? Kiryu. This dude was super fast and he can jump off the walls, and he's just like a badass. Actually, this character is awesome. I can't remember the guy's name, but I still need to play Lost Judgment, and I actually think I might be going to be playing this one soon too. Lost Judgment, the sequel to this. But this was a great game. It had all the charm and the fun of Yakuza, but with even better combat, honestly, and mixed in with a bit of detective stuff. It was different in just enough ways to make it its own thing, but also make it feel like it's still an awesome part of the Yakuza series. So I am looking forward to playing Lost Judgment. Yeah, had a great time with it. What I'm going to say, most of these, I don't think there's many games. If there's games on here that I didn't like at all, I'd probably drop them pretty soon. So a lot of these games I've finished to completion. I liked enough to want to see it through. So next up was the previous game of the year of 2024, Astrobot. So yeah, I loved Astrobot's Playroom when the PlayStation 5 dropped. It was like the only game that ever utilized all of the features of the PS5 DualSense, and it was awesome. And I loved all the little cameos in the game. Playing it back again just before I played this one, I saw even more cool stuff that I never saw the first time, such as the Resident Evil characters in there, like Claire and Leon and Chris and Jill, and just those are like the little things that get me, like all the little Easter eggs, even though they're just like popping up just like behind the door. It was just like an awesome memory and moment of like PlayStation, which is like so iconic to my childhood. So Astrobot was more of that, but even more insane. Like lots of awesome levels. There's even levels themed on games, like there's Ragnarok levels. I think there's levels based on Apes Escape, is it? There's plenty of fun to have in this game, and I think the only downside to this is that I finished it and it was all over. So I was hoping to see some more like DLC, maybe even some like survival horror type game maps. I know they did have like a level that was somewhat Bloodborne in a way, but yeah, Astrobot was awesome. Really love how it implemented the use of the dual sense, and I wish more games would do that. So after that, we played probably another big JRPG, one that I'd had for quite a long time. I absolutely loved the first game of this, which was made by the people who made Studio Ghibli films. So the animation in that was pretty much straight out of a Ghibli film. And I'd heard different things about Ni no Kuni 2. I'd heard a lot of people say that because Ghibli wasn't attached to this one, that it wasn't as good, and the style wasn't as good, and the combat wasn't as good. So I'd always wanted to play it, but I know it had a mixed audience of fans, people who loved the Ghibli of the first one, they just didn't like this one, or vice versa, people who loved this one and they didn't get into the first one. And I put a lot of hours into this game, and not for the main reasons that I expected. So this game combat was more action focused, which I honestly did enjoy. With the first one being more turn-based, where you had to keep running around at the same time as doing your turn-based combat, I felt like it was quite tricky at times. And this one, it's been a while, so I can't exactly remember how it all works, but I remember it being more live action. There was more action to it, like you were running around and actually pressing buttons to slash them, and I think it worked really well. But the thing that really got me hooked on this game was the kingdom building. So there was a whole section of the game where you could build your own kingdom by like getting currency and then building jewelry shops and blacksmith and fisheries and food places, and then you'd put all of your residents that you'd find in the main game into this kingdom. And the more people you have in these facilities, then the more resources you can get, and then the more upgrades you can get, and the faster you can farm resources. And honestly, there was times where I was worried I was going to burn in my OLED TV because I had this thing on just sitting on in the background while it was just like gathering currency. Basically, I'd get everyone just farming all these different things in the village, and I'd just leave it on, and I'd come back to it every like 20 minutes so I could take all the money, because I'd make the maximum amount of money and then just go straight back into it. And I like played that game probably 50 hours more than I needed to, but absolutely loved it. I would love to see another game in this series. So yeah, my voice is starting to go again already. We're only 20 minutes in. We've got plenty of games to go through as well. So what about you guys? Are you guys playing anything at the minute, or did you play many games through 2026? I'm going to take a little break here. I don't know how people do it. I mean, I am talking constantly, so it's not like I'm just streaming and reacting to what people are saying. I am constantly talking. But yeah, if anyone is here and is a new viewer, I do mostly YouTube stuff, but I do play stuff on Twitch as well. So you can find a link to both. Well, if you're watching on Twitch, you'll be able to find a link to YouTube. Vice versa if you're on YouTube. I also played Dead Island last year. That's a game that I've been wanting to play for a while, but I've had it on Epic Games Store for ages, and it just would not work on this monitor for some reason. It would crash all the time. I saw it in the Steam sale the other day for like £3, so I bought it again on Steam to see if it would work. So I've not tried it yet, but I played a little bit on the PS5. But one of the games to that is very similar that I did play later this year. In fact, I only finished it recently. All I know is Night Rain is taking over 2026. Yeah, we're going to get a game in tonight. The Dreadlord is going down. Okay. It was free on Epic and I went to play it. Yeah. That's when I got it. I got it on Epic. Actually, no, I didn't. I got a key for it when it came out, but it was on Epic. I didn't have a choice. But it looks like you didn't run into any problems with it not working anyway. So next up is Little Nightmares. So this is the first game, and this is one of the ones out of all the list of games I played in 2025 which I had played before. So I played this not when it came out, but probably a few years before this for the first time, and I remember really enjoying it. And I missed out on 2. I never played 2 for a long time, so I felt like I wanted a refresher of the first game, then go and play 2. So I played through that, and I just loved these games. I love the grotesque monsters, and you can see them all in the picture right there. These dudes are like really grotesque, and their body shapes and limbs and organs are just super creepy, and they're pretty scary, honestly, the way they chase you around the map. I love the atmosphere of this one. It's quite a linear in a way game, but the atmosphere is what carries you through. Each different segment is different. It's all based around a certain part of this location you are. Like there's like kitchens and things like that. So really awesome game, and it's quite an easy one to blast through. And they've just released a enhanced version. I think it came as like a pre-order with the third game, which I've not played. So I was kind of gutted I'd just played it again when they just like remastered it essentially. But I think the PC version stayed the same anyway. So I had good fun playing that one again. Next up, another 2D scroller platformer Metroid Castlevania style game, and that was Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirrors of Fate. So this is I think it came out on the Vita first. It might have even been on the 3DS as well. I played it on the Steam Deck for the most part. and this is a sort of side story to, it might even be a prequel to Lords of Shadow, which was the new style of Castlevania game, which were actually really good, I thought, especially the first one. So I think a lot of people like hold Castlevania Lords of Shadow, the first game, in high regard as like one of the best, at least newer type of Castlevania games, and I would agree with it. It's got like a lot. It felt a bit like, what's the game, Darksiders, where you play as Dracula. So super cool game, and this version here was more of the same, just like what I mentioned before with the Batman game. It took a lot of the mechanics of the main games and brought them down to a 2D platform, and I think it worked really well. The combat in this game was quite tough, to be honest. At times I feel like the enemies were just bullet sponges or crucifix sponges, but I had a good time with it, and it had been such a long time since I played Lords of Shadow 1 and 2 that it was good to play a Castlevania game again, because I mean, I played Castlevania 1 and beat it. It took me a long time, but I am not cut out for some of those older platformer games, but I had a good time with it. Next up, Destiny: The Final Shape. Now, this was supposed to be like the big finale to the first saga, the 10-year saga of Destiny 2. I've loved those games since they came out. Like, some of my fondest memories are Destiny 1 raids on the PS4 and even on Destiny 2 as well. And I did try to play through as many of the raids on Destiny 2 as possible, but I took quite a bit of a break before playing this one. Hence why it only took me until like 2025 to start playing it. And it was a pretty satisfying conclusion to, maybe not the story, but just like gameplay, like the visitor. I think I can't remember what the bad guy, the character is called, but I felt like it was a good sort of wrap up on that story, and it had some really awesome map design. As always, Bungie do a really good job of like the skyboxes and the level design and pushing different environments. And it had a really, really cool opening mission where things were just like the world was changing as you were running through it. And I've never seen games do it as well as that. Honestly, I wouldn't expect Destiny 2 to be pulling out these technical tricks, which I still can't figure out how they pulled out so smoothly. But yeah, I do want to catch up on Destiny at some point because I'm probably about 2 or 3 expansions behind at this time. But let's go on to Death Stranding 1. Now, this is another game I've already played before. I played this on the PS4 when it first came out and absolutely like loved it. Like the gameplay of it, just the world of it. It was so weird and different, and I milked every minute of that game. Like I did everything. I read all the diaries and just everything you could do in that game. Besides getting the platinum trophy because I'd suck at climbing those mountains, but with Death Stranding 2 releasing later in the year, I wanted to do another recap of it. So I played this one on the PC for the first time. And I was surprised that it had haptic feedback in the PS5 controller when using it on PC. So I got to experience like the best version of it, really. And yeah, the story still got me the second time around. Still gave me a bit of a tear jerker. I can't speak, I'm losing my voice. Gave me a bit of a tear jerker moment towards the end, but I had a great time with it again. And next up is one that was not the most memorable. Space Marine 2 had been out for a long time. Well, not a long time. Space Marine 2 had been out, and I really wanted to play it for quite some time. And I thought, why not play Space Marine 1? It just been remastered. I think it's called like the remastered edition or mastered edition. It just came out on Game Pass on Xbox, and I don't tend to play my Xbox very much these days, but yeah, it popped up on there. The Master Crafted edition it is. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to play through this. It might be quite a simple run through game. And I was surprised by how it felt like a Gears of War game. It looked a little bit dated, but it was still fun to play. And it was good to just destroy these grubs, these orcs, with like a chainsaw gun and a big shotgun, playing as this badass Space Marine. So it gave me a little bit of a taster of Warhammer, because it'd probably been the first Warhammer game I'd actually played. So I just wanted to get a bit of backstory on the character before jumping into Space Marine 2. Beat it relatively fast. Then another game that had been sat in my backlog for a while, and I knew I wanted to play this one because I absolutely love RoboCop. RoboCop is like, still holds up as like a really great 80s film. Ultra violent, and I was pretty gutted that the new reboot that they were going to do of this, following on from the first film, kind of got canned, because I really would have loved to have seen that like ultraviolet style be carried into modern day if they could do it. But this is as good as you're going to get. It's a sequel that is based in the same sort of timeline as the films. It might be after RoboCop 2, I can't remember, but putting you in the feel of RoboCop and feeling like the boots as he's walking and like the gun with the rapid fire. This game made you feel like RoboCop and a badass, and it was awesome fun to play. And what made it better as well is I was playing it with a lot of this Razer haptic gear. So I had the haptics cushion on the chair, I had a haptics headset on, so I could really feel the rumble. Like every time he would take a step, I could feel it, and it just made me feel even more like RoboCop. Still haven't played the Unfinished Business sort of standalone title, but if it's anything like this one, it's going to be super fun. And it's quite a sort of double A studio as well. And I think they really captured the vibe of RoboCop here. Now, this is definitely one that I have played more than once. I do have like a little tally chart on this list, on my gaming backlog list of how many times I've played it. And I put it down as 4. It probably might have been more than that. And I decided to play this one on the Nintendo Switch. Purely because it was on sale, and I thought I want to play this sort of portably. I wasn't sure what the PC Steam Deck version was going to be like, and that one rarely goes on sale either. So I saw it on a deal, and I thought I'd better just play this on the Switch. And then I got the docking experience, and it's going to be just like a simple, easy way to play it, handheld or docked. And I mean, it still holds up. I mean, the graphics still look pretty bad at this rate with these square faces. Hard to convey the emotions of Solid Snake and Meryl when they look like that. But I am still hoping one day we get a really, really good, really like perfect remake of this game in today's modern graphics. Not like the Snake Eater one, which was just like a shell placed onto the old game. But I still want to play that at some point. So yeah, Metal Gear Solid 1. Then we go back to the Souls games, and by the look of the list, this is the first Souls-like game I actually played in 2025. I started that in July, so I must have started Night Rain before that. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. So, Black Myth Wukong was this game that was announced a long, long time ago, and the graphics on it just looked like too good to be true. It looked like it was never going to come out like a tech demo. And it finally came out, and when we finally started playing it, we just had like super fun with it. It was difficult at times, it's quite demanding on PC, but some of those bosses were really tough in the game. But I think it was just it was an addictive game to play, like finding all the different bosses and leveling up and getting your power-ups, using the different power-ups in combat, and just working your way through this world and what was next. You had no idea where it was going unless you've probably read the story Journey to the West. Like, you're gonna have no idea what's coming next in this game, and we never did. We never knew what bosses we were going to be expecting, what the map was going to be. But it was really, really fun by the end of it. And even though it was a lot of stress in some of those boss fights, I think it was definitely worth playing. By the end of it, we were really excited for the announcement of the second game, or the same in the game by the people who made this one. So I'm looking forward to that coming at some point. I'm waiting for it to go a bit cheaper. Yeah, I imagine it will be at some point soon. I mean, I've seen it drop. I'm sure I've seen it drop about 20 quid. Will you be playing it on PC? Are you a PC primary player, Moss? Totally forgot Wukong. Yeah, we played a lot of Wukong. So let me see when I started it. So started on the 6th of July and finished on the 13th of August. So we're talking probably about 5 weeks solid of playing it. And we were playing it like quite a lot. I'm not sure if that was during the summer shutdown or not, but Black Myth Wukong was awesome in a world of Souls-likes where some of them aren't so good, so it definitely was a standout. And I think I wanted to beat it in time for this game, which was Death Stranding 2. I was very hyped for this one after seeing some of the trailers with, what's his name? Troy Baker's character with like octopus tentacles, with like a crow makeup face shredding on his electric guitar. Everything was weird. It was just the vibes of it were even more outlandish than the first game. And the gameplay was more tight. It was very similar, but there was more additions to it that made it a lot easier to play in a way. And honestly, some of the gameplay was made a lot easier because I spent a lot of time with like the truck with a magnet on it, which was just bringing all the parcels to me. So you can make it a challenge if you want to, but it's when you've had that easy mode where you can essentially not have to leave the car, it's really tough to go back. I don't think the story hit as much as the first game. There was some really badass moments in it, some really weird moments, really funny moments, but there's just something about that first game story and the mystery behind the world and Mads Mikkelsen's character, which just made it a little bit better for me. But the gameplay in the second one was super addictive. Building all those highways as per usual, upgrading all of the equipment. I think I spent easily 30 hours like doing these roads again. So, and that was not long after I played the first one again. So there's got to be something like gameplay loop that like kept me in. So that was Death Stranding 2. Yeah, I mainly play PC now. Always a console game, but Resident Evil mods converted me. See, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, but I've never delved into the mods. I think the ones I would probably try would be like for the original games where you swap out like the dialogue and stuff, which just sounds like hilarious. Okay, moving on to the Outer Worlds. A lot of these images, if you're watching this, they're not very high res. I couldn't really find any 4K images for some reason that were JPEGs. Like the scourge of the internet is all these WebP files that you can't save anymore. But that's what we got. And Outer Worlds was the first like new RPG. You can do OG Resi randomizers easy peasy. Yeah, it's whether I've still got the actual like emulate like the games on my PC to play. These days I just have like the PS5 version that I had on my Vita, which works really well. Like the trilogy is nice and easy to play on there, but obviously there's no mods. Yeah, the Outer Worlds. So the first game by Obsidian, the first like RPG by Obsidian since like what's it called, New Vegas. So there was a lot of hype for this one. It was an Xbox Game Pass day one game. I never got around to playing it, and with the second one coming out, I wanted to finally play through it, and I had a good time with this one as well. I mean, you could tell straight away, mostly from the dialogue and the choices that you could make in the game, that it was definitely more of an Obsidian game compared to like Fallout 3 or something like that. So it was fun to just see the dialogue and how you could really mess around with the people in this game. And it was obviously a lot more linear compared to something like Fallout or Elder Scrolls, but I still had a good time with it, and the DLC was really fun too. So I wanted to get it done before the second one came out. Second one came out, and I still haven't even played it. I've played this one. How did you find it, Moss? Did you like it? Okay. So now I can tell we're getting into October here because this was time for me to start playing through some of these horror games that I'd had in my backlog for a long time. First of that being the Callisto Protocol. Had this one for ages. I think at the time my PC couldn't handle it because this monitor is pretty high resolution. When I tried to play Callisto Protocol, it was just bringing it to its knees. So when I finally like upgraded my PC and got my eGPU sorted downstairs where I could actually play the game on the TV downstairs, it was like a no-brainer. I was like, I can actually play this now on a big TV, and it's going to be awesome. The graphics on this game are insane, by the way. So this is the game that was made by the same people, or some of the same people, the main head people who made Dead Space. Dead Space is like one of the OGs, one of well, I would say OG, not in like a retro style. Like Dead Space is one of the best survival horror games. Like when it came out, it totally beat Resident Evil 5 in my opinion. And it was a game made by EA as well. But this was like a spiritual successor to it. I'd heard very mixed things about the game. I'm not sure if that was mostly due to the performance of the game. But the brutal melee combat of this game was awesome. I think that was a lot of the trouble people had with this game was the dodge mechanic, because instead of pressing a button to dodge, you just had to move the analog stick in the direction you expected the enemy to attack, so you had to be prepared for it. But I like once I got that down, I was having a blast. Like I'd get myself killed so many times just to kill people in the most like brutal ways. Like I'd be waiting for that like a left hit with like a club or something, or a big hammer. I was waiting to get like the perfect kill, and it would always get me a kill, but I was getting too cocky. But I had a blast with this one. Like I said, the graphics in this were insane. Some of the best I've seen. It's a shame we probably never get a sequel to it, but who knows? The guy who I think it's Glenn Schofield, he keeps talking about making a new Dead Space at some point, or wanting to be involved somehow. So that was good. Then at the same time, back to back, I think my excitement I'm losing my voice here. I think the excitement got the better of me because it didn't live up to expectations. Yeah, I think that's why it worked for me so well. Is because I took a long time to get around to it, and by the time I did play the Outer Worlds, it wasn't like a hype moment. It's like, oh, I'm playing this now. I'm preparing for the second one. Probably rushed through it a little bit as well. So, Dead Space Remake. Had this one for a while. This one did have its fair share of issues on PC as well, with stutter and stuff like that. But by the time I played it, it wasn't too bad at all. And for some reason, I feel like there was a lot of stuff in this game that I don't remember from the original playthrough, like story beats and certain characters. I just really didn't even remember them, but I'm sure they were there. But that's a game I have played maybe 3 times. I always try, well, I didn't with this version because I played so many times previously, but I always usually, with Dead Space, just stick to the plasma cutter and upgrade that and use that as like the only weapon. I don't know why I like playing that way, but I feel like they really nailed this one with adding extra bits that made it a bit better. Like the anti-gravity sections were a lot more fun to play. And they just enhanced quite a lot of moments. The moments with like the cannon where you had to go outside of the ship. I don't know. I always like the original weird gun game where you had to shoot the asteroids, but the way they did it in this one was a lot more action packed, which was awesome. But I don't know. I still have like a soft spot for that original way of playing that, even though it was super tough and got you killed quite often. So Dead Space. The only disappointment with this is that I hope we still get a Dead Space 2 remake. Uh, this showed how like well you could do the atmosphere and the graphics and some additions to the game to make it even better. So the shame would be if Dead Space 2 never gets remade, because that's one I've only ever played once, and I think it's only been played once because I've been kind of waiting for a moment like this for it to be revived. Well, that was Dead Space. And we're getting close to the end of this list now, actually. It's surprising because some of these games I felt like I played yesterday. But Silent Hill F was the next up to be finished on this list. So I got that on the day it came out. I don't think I played it straight away, but I was really looking forward to seeing a Silent Hill game set in, well, not in Silent Hill, in I think it was 1950s, 1960s in Japan. The whole setting and the vibe of it really got me excited for it. And then it was weird because like the first hour or so of the game, I really wasn't vibing with it. I wasn't like, vibing with the combat and how action packed it was. But I knew that the world looked really interesting, the story was seeming interesting, and I think after a certain point it did click. More around the sections where you have to do puzzles is how it felt like a classic Silent Hill game. Some of the sections where you're like confined to a location like the school and you have to figure out the puzzles and the whole section with like the lockers and things, that felt like OG Silent Hill in a way that some of the other games didn't. So I think the combat was very different, but the puzzles and the locations and the theming they did a really good job with. And I still need to jump back in for a second playthrough because you don't get the whole story by playing this once. You need to really play it multiple times. So I am going to do that again at some point also. So next up, still in October or getting towards the end of it, I think we had to play something new here that was spooky, and that was a game that had been sat in my backlog for a very long time, which was Fatal Frame 4 or Project Zero, depending where you're watching this from. This was the game that came out exclusively in Japan on the Wii. Never came out over here. I know people tried to import it and stuff, but I think a couple of years later they did a remaster and brought it to Switch, brought it to PC, brought it to consoles, and brought it out overseas. So finally had the chance to play it, and I finally played it this year. And it's very, very similar to all other Fatal Frame games, but there's just something about the atmosphere in these games, like which is creepier than a lot of the other survival horror games. For one thing, you don't have a gun, you have a camera. But I think it's not in really the camera parts of the game that I enjoy the most. Like I think the combat with the camera can be quite annoying at times, especially when you're back into a wall and there's nowhere to go and there's just ghosts coming from everywhere. Hey Winter, how you doing? Good to see you. It's more the quiet moments in the game where you're just finding these weird just things like in the world. You find like dead bodies or clues to how someone died or perished, and that's like the fun parts of this game is these really decrepit environments in the game where it just looks haunted and it looks like a classic haunted horror film like The Grudge or something. and they do a really good job with building atmosphere in that way. And I really can't wait for them to remake the second game, Crimson Butterfly, which comes out very soon actually. So I think part of me wanted me to get this game done, so I played the two available newer games, so I can then play the second game and not have other ones to go back to in case they modernize the combat or controls a bit more. So that was that. And then next up, it's Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I'm definitely a late starter to the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom train. I was one of those people, I still do this with lots of games. Like, if there's a game where I don't feel like it's at its technical peak, like, I'll put it off until I can play it at its best, which is why I still haven't played Cyberpunk 2077. It's the same reason why it took me, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years to play The Witcher 3. I wanted to wait until I had a PC powerful enough to be able to max it out and get the true experience. And that's why I put off playing Breath of the Wild for so long. But there's only so long I could wait. I was not expecting the Switch 2 to drop for a long time, and it never did. I kept expecting the Switch Pro for years, and it never came. So I got the OLED Switch, and I was like, I'm just going to go and play Breath of the Wild now because I can't wait any longer. And I did. And I played it through and had an amazing time with it. And then Tears of the Kingdom came out. I got it on day one because I got the collector's edition, and I was knowing I was going to play it. But for this one, I was going to wait for that Switch 2 because I wanted it to play better. I wanted the 60 frames. And that's exactly what I did. And it was one of the first games I played on my Switch 2 to completion, really. I didn't want to start too many new games on the Switch 2 because I still was playing Tears of the Kingdom, and I knew how long it would be. So I wanted to get this out of the way and then play other games. And that's what I did. I hammered it. So let me see when I started the game. It's got to be around the launch of the Switch 2. So, excuse my cough. So I started it on the 18th of June and I finished it on the 6th of November. So that's how long it took me. And I know by the end of it that I definitely started to rush it just to get through. There's so many dungeons and things I didn't end up doing in this game just because I wanted to start moving on to more Switch 2 games. But I still had an amazing time with it. I don't know how they managed to make it fresh after Breath of the Wild. And even so, I don't know what they're going to do after this game to reach the peak of these two games because they've done as much as they can ever do in this. The physics-based mechanics of the game were just crazy. Like, you could break this game and do dungeons in ways that were totally unique that I don't think even should have worked at times, but they did. And that's the main thing about this. The puzzles in the game really make you think about how to figure it out. Some of them really stress you out, but some of them, when you crack it, it's like beating a Dark Souls boss because you've had to use your wits and everything around you to figure it out. So finally got Tears of the Kingdom done, and yeah, awesome game. And eventually we'll go back and try and do some more of the dungeons in the game I missed. I've just bought the Switch 2 upgrade for Breath of the Wild to finish the game. Oh, nice, yeah. I haven't tried the Breath of the Wild update yet. I do want to put it on because it's such a simple but beautiful looking game. I'd love to see how it looks and runs on the Switch too. But hope you enjoy it. Next up, then, surprise. Is this a surprise hit? Because I was looking forward to this one. I mean, Silent Hill 2 came out last year by Bloober Team, and it kind of floored most people because there was so many people who were ready to just destroy that game and hate on it. With it being Bloober and a lot of their past games haven't been huge hits in the past, everyone thought they were going to ruin that game. And it turned out to be incredible. I absolutely love Silent Hill 2 Remake. It seemed like Bloober Team were on like the up now with getting their feet behind the games and making good horror games again. And this one looked like a mixture of Dead Space and Resident Evil. This is Chronos: The New Dawn. I got this on the Switch and I got it on PC as well. I wanted to play it on the PC mostly, but I also wanted to check out the Switch 2 port because I heard it was really good. So this was an awesome game. Honestly, this is one of my highlights of the year. Much like Callisto and Dead Space, the combat is just brutal in this game. Charging up your pistol to like blow off the limbs of these creatures and then having to try and burn them before they absorb all of the other creatures and turn into an even tougher creature. I had an amazing time with this one. And it's definitely a game I would play again on like New Game Plus. I was a little bit hazy on some of the story moments and what was actually going on at times, but in terms of it being like a new survival horror IP, I had an amazing time with it. So yeah, the horror vibes, the atmosphere, the weaponry, the creature designs, awesome game. So if you haven't checked out Chronos, please do. What else we got? I think after Silent Hill 2, this game had some eyes on it. Yeah, yeah. So I think they had to sort of follow through, because if they brought this game out after Silent Hill 2 and it was a buggy mess, like, it would have got slated. But they did a really good job with this one. Have you played it, Moss? Okay, we are getting close now. So next up, Hollow Knight. Does it run and look good on the Switch too? It does actually, Steve. It runs. It's 30 frames per second, but I think it's like a lock 30, and it actually does look really good on the Switch too. So I would recommend it. Yeah, Hollow Knight. Been in my Steam library for I don't know how long. How many times have I booted the game up on different platforms? Played 10 minutes and gave up. Dozens. This was the time Silksong was coming, or was already here. I can't remember. And I had to do it this time. And I fell down the same path of not having a map, not knowing where I was on the map, and struggling for quite a long time to remember how the hell I'm supposed to get to where I need to go, what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was the same old story. There's the first hour or two of gameplay, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't play it, but I watched the mate play. Oh, awesome. Did you like what you saw? I feel like it's the actual brutality of the combat, like, is what makes it feel good. But yeah, Hollow Knight. Love Souls games. This was sort of pitched as like a Souls type platformer, Metroidvania game, and I was into a lot of that kind of stuff at the time, and I just wanted to get through this game, and this game took me a lot longer than I cared to admit, because I wanted to do the final boss, like the true final boss of the game. The more and more I played of the game, the more I loved it. The art style, power ups, the world, the Metroidvania style, backtracking and then getting more powers and figuring things out you hadn't done earlier. It was just like a really good experience, and like, I had a great time with it. Like I've said with most of these games, I had a great time with it, but I also spent way too long like stressing out. The last time I had an experience playing a game where I was stressing out at bosses and enemies and backtracking and getting to a certain point was probably Cuphead, and I had the same feeling where I was staying up way too late after bedtime, trying to just keep fighting this boss over and over until I got it, because I knew that if I went away and didn't do it, I would have been really annoyed with myself. So it took me a long time, but when I finally beat that final boss, I've never felt so free in my life. So I think I'm probably gonna have a similar experience with Silksong, where I love it and hate it at the same time. But I'm glad I finally got around to playing the game. So yeah, props to Team Cherry for bringing out such a dope game, which has got like a lot of heart to it. And then next up, we're getting up to the last two games that I finished this year now. So I we were at Gamescom opening live, and they announced Dying Light the Beast, and I thought it looked really awesome, and I knew I'd been wanting to play Dying Light 2 for ages and ages, but I never picked it up. I don't know why I never picked it up. I think I was waiting to see how low the price would drop. And they announced at the show when we were there, like, oh, like, if you've got the premium edition of Dying Light 2, you'll get Dying Light the Beast for free, essentially. So I think, like, that night in Germany, in Cologne, I went on, like, CD keys, and I bought the premium edition while it was on sale for like 10 quid, mostly because I wanted to play the Beast. And I finally actually put the time in and played Dying Light 2 over the last couple of months. So I started it on the 17th of November and finished it on the 27th of December, so just before New Year. So I was trying to rush through and get this one finished as fast as possible. With it being December as well, there was a whole event on the entire time, which was snowy, and it was like zombies dressed as Santa Claus and elves and like the Grinch running around. So kind of a weird way to play the game, but I feel like there was quite a solid game in here if you had the time to put into it. I feel like I said, I probably rushed through a lot of the quests to try and get through to the end of the main game and missed out on a lot of side stuff. But this was like a fully packed game of things to do, and the combat was fun, and it really helped when you had the hang glider to be able to traverse around the world a bit. And honestly, I must have been, what, 50, 60 hours in, maybe 40 hours in maybe. And then I realized that you could actually fast travel by opening up the metro tunnels. So yeah, I could have been fast traveling around, but no, I was flying around for a long time. I really like Dying Light 1, but this one didn't do it for me. Yeah, I've heard a lot of the same thing from a lot of other people, and I do remember maybe enjoying the first one more. I think I don't know what it was about the second one, but there was a lot there was too much like humanity in it with the people and the factions, and too much having to like follow people and talk to people. I know they were trying to push more on the story in this game and the ever changing world, but I didn't really care for that stuff. I just wanted to kind of like go in and slash zombies up. So I'm hoping when I play Dead Island 2 that I get more of that fun vibe of just the gameplay rather than having to get through the story. But I still had a good time with the game, and now I'm free to play the Beast. So yeah, the Beast is supposed to be really good though. Yeah, so I've heard. So now I've burdened myself with what people say is like not as good as the first one, and now I'm free to play the Beast. Stop putting story in my yeah, at least like too much story. It was essentially it felt like a Far Cry game with zombies. Okay, and then last but not least was a game that just like what else did we talk about earlier that I was undecided on? Silent Hill, Hollow Knight. With the Switch 2, I wanted to get like some of these new exclusive first party games to push the system to see what it was like capable of and to get some of that Nintendo fun. And I'm not a huge Nintendo person. I never have been. I've never had like the N64 or most of the time I've only played like Resident Evil games on my GameCube and things like that. So I wanted to pick up Donkey Kong because I mean the gameplay looked pretty fun about smashing things up, but I didn't really know too much about it. I wasn't keen on what I seen in the trailers with the character there. You can see Pauline, her singing and stuff. It was like I don't know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make this like a Disney game. And when I first booted up the game, I did like the first level, and I started immediately thinking like, what have I paid all this Switch tax money for to play this game? Because all I'm doing is just punching things. And then I started seeing different bonus objectives in the levels where you could just do all these different challenges and side missions and even like 2D side scroller optional missions you can do in the game. And then when I started getting the power ups as well, you start getting power ups of different animals throughout the game, which all have the different unique gameplay mechanics. And by I want to say 4 or 5 hours of the game, I couldn't stop playing it. I was honestly playing this game every day. The whole there is a story to the game, very slight story, but every time there's an option for me to input the story as Donkey Kong of what he wanted to do, I just gave the option where he was just looking for bananas, and that's essentially what you do in this game. You're Donkey Kong looking for these bananas, which give you skill points to level up. And it had a skill tree system, which I wasn't expecting either, but I found myself wanting to do as many of these optional challenges and clear as much of the map as possible to level up Donkey Kong to unlock all these powers. I wasn't ever expecting to try and max stat out Donkey Kong in a game, but I had like a really fun time with this one. And when I got the elephant transformation power up, where you could essentially have a vacuum as your like way to destroy the map, you could just go around like sucking up all the rocks and all the floor and pillars and enemies. I was doing it non-stop. I was just devouring the entire map for the sake of doing it. Like this is the game that's built for those people who just want pure like destruction and fun. This is like Power Wash Simulator, but for destroying things. So I actually came away really enjoying this game. It's something that I didn't think I would, and I still didn't think I would after a few hours of playing, but had a blast with it. I could see why people would say this is their game of the year, and I've got to say it's probably in my top 5 or 3 maybe even. It was just super fun. So I'm looking forward to see what they do next. I'm looking forward to see some more big exclusives come to the Switch 2 as well. So that is everything I played and finished in 2025. There's a few things on the side of that, games like VR games, which I've not counted because a lot of them are never actually finished, such as Alien Rogue Incursion. I was playing that recently the other night and having a great time with that. It's very tense. I started playing Resident Evil 4 VR again, and that is just like one of the best ways to play that game. Like it's super intense, just slashing zombies' arms off with a knife, and just the whole village scene is just a true panic. I've not even got to the castle yet, but I'm looking forward to continuing with that. And yeah, one we've been playing a lot over Christmas, and I mean a lot, like taking over our entire Christmas break, has been Elden Ring Night Rain. the Forsaken Hollows DLC came out. So we jumped back in for the first time since basically the first month of its launch. And we spent, I think we put 20 hours in at least in the time we had over Christmas. And we're going to do it probably after this as well tonight. But having such a fun time with that game. I never thought like a multiplayer spin-off of a Dark Souls, Elden Ring type of game would be so addictive and so fun, but I can't stop playing it. I'm actually worried about going back to Elden Ring because the pace of the game is going to be so much slower than Night Rain. But yeah, it's just so addictive, and I know some people probably not keen on playing this type of game, and I know we struggled a lot when it came out to try and even do the first boss. It took us over 10 hours. I think if you've got some kind of history with Dark Souls and Elden Ring, if it clicks for you and you get your first boss a couple of bosses done and you start to figure out what to do and how to get through the map and level up in certain ways, you can have a really fun time with it. And yeah, it might get old with there only being a certain amount of bosses and maps, but like I'm excited to jump in again tonight, even after the torture of spending 10 hours trying to fight one boss and failing over and over again. So that has been it for everything we've been playing in 2025. Sure, there's going to be some smaller ones that I've missed along the way, and there's currently 3 games I'm currently playing now, which are going to be in the beginning of my list of 2026. Those are Little Nightmares 2 for the first time, which I'm pretty sure I'm only about 20 minutes away from the end of that one, and still having an amazing time with that. The atmosphere in that one's even better, I would say, than the first game. It's got a lot of weird nods to games like, I would say, Silent Hill. So it seems like it's picked certain atmospheric moments from certain subjects and certain films which really work well in a game that's kind of childish in a way, but also really dark at the same time. Resident Evil Revelations 1 is a game that I've decided to play again for some reason. I think it's just probably the Resident Evil game that I've not played in like most recent times, probably the furthest away. The other ones which I've played over and over again. I've not played Revelations 1. Couldn't get it to work on my Steam Deck without the cutscenes breaking. Couldn't even get it to load on my laptop. So I just bit the bullet and bought it for like £6 on the Switch, and having a great time, and the motion controls are really good. So I'm tempted to pick up all the other Resident Evil games on the Switch just to play with the motion controls. And last but not least is Doom the Dark Ages. Had that since day one. Haven't got around to playing it. Sure, I've tested it plenty of times, but I'm fully into it now and having like a blast with it, with the music blasting, the headset on, with his chair rumbling behind me. It's just, yeah, it's always good to just smash up some demons while listening to some metal music. So those are 3 games I'm currently playing, and I guess I'll be doing one of these again next year. But I did want to do this as a quarterly thing, as a quarterly catch up. So I might do that instead. I might see when we get to around April time, I might do a quarterly roundup of backlog and how far I've got. And hopefully I've made enough game progress in it. So maybe we'll do that next time instead. Take the burden off doing this on like my throat, really. The euphoria of beating a boss is what keeps you going. Yeah, it is. Even like killing like the smallest enemies in the game feel good. Running up to like a crab and one shot on it with a sword feels good. So when you finally get the end boss, like it definitely feels amazing. Like when we beat the Balances boss the other night, we were ecstatic because it took so long. Resident Revelations is a decent game. It is, Steve. Are you playing it on the Switch version? Because it actually looks really, really good. I don't know how. Once again, I do apologize for the coughing and the throat. There's no way I could have done this and a Fighting Fantasy stream in the same night. I think it's going to be tough for me to even recover in time for tomorrow. But I thank everyone for stopping by, joining in with the chat live. I thank you all for watching. If you're going to be watching this on YouTube and it goes live, let us know in the comment section your thoughts on my list of backlog games. Let me know what you've played. How many games did you play? As many games as you wanted to? Probably not. Or did you play like way more games than you ever thought you could? I want to know in the comment section. If it's your first time checking out the channel, also, yeah, hit the subscribe button, drop a like, drop a comment, and then, yeah, I guess I'll be seeing you in a few months with my roundup of what I've played from now until, let's say, April. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.